Hello, passionate football fans, and welcome to the Overthinker podcast. So after another fantastic week of football, we're looking at our picks here again. We did a little better this week, 9-7. If we can repeat that a couple times, we will be even. Obviously, hopefully we start winning a lot more. So yeah, prop bets this week. The only one that hit was Devin Duvernay. I did have that parlay I talked about, but I didn't actually place it, with Christian Kirk going over in receiving yards and receptions and the Jaguars to win in an upset. But I didn't actually include it in the video technically. Maybe this week I'll decide on one that I like and include it. We'll see. But other than that, we had Eric Izukama. Did not play, so you get your bet back on that. That's why I definitely thought it was a smart bet. So yeah, Steelers versus Browns. We had to pick the under in this game. Didn't happen. Bit more scoring than I thought there was going to be, definitely. But yeah, I guess I wasn't really expecting much from the Steelers. They did put together a couple drives, and that's kind of what busted this one for me, I think. But I did have a parlay on this game that I didn't share. I almost hit it. I basically needed Pat Freiermuth to score a touchdown, and I would have won $7,000 off $5. So yeah, that was pretty frustrating. But we did have a really crazy catch by George Pickens this game. That was insane. Hopefully they start getting him the ball more. I did actually drop him in fantasy just because the Steelers aren't really doing much on offense. Definitely not enough to support more than one receiver in Deontay Johnson, I think, right now. But hopefully Kenny Pickett gets in there soon. I definitely think this offense will be a bit better. And I'm fairly certain Steelers fans are pretty sick of seeing Trubisky play right now. He did throw the ball a little more this game, and they did lean into it a little more, lean into his mobility a little bit. But he still didn't look that good, especially throwing the ball downfield. Just was not great from him. And there definitely were some opportunities this game to throw the ball deep when he didn't. He didn't pull the trigger on some of them plays. Then we had the Bengals and Jets. I definitely thought this was a game where the Bengals should cover. I didn't really understand why it was such a close spread. I mean, the Bengals just have so much more talent on offense, and I guess this game would have been a little closer if you didn't have the big breakaway play. I believe it was Tyler Boyd breaking a tackle there and scampering like 60 yards into the end zone. Yeah, you also have Joe Mixon getting hurt in that game, so we'll have to see going forward if it's just Joe Mixon in the backfield or if Samaje Perine gets a little more carries. Very possible. Then we have the Bills and Dolphins. I had picked the over in this game, expecting quite an offensive explosion. Not quite getting there. You had quite a bit of turnovers this game. It was an interesting game with a whole butt punt. But yeah, this is a pretty good win for the Dolphins, going against probably the best team in the NFL and winning somehow. So yeah, definitely looking really good for the Dolphins here. The offensive coordinator, new head coach, all that stuff. Tua has been playing outstanding. And they come away with a really big win here that could be very important when it comes to playoff seeding in the future. Then we have the Raiders and Titans. We had picked the Raiders to win by at least 2. Did not happen. Titans this game, they couldn't really do a ton on offense, but Derrick Henry had a couple nice runs there. But at least they were running like a more typical offense for what I would do with Derrick Henry. They were definitely doing quite a bit more under center stuff. And the stuff that we typically would want to see Derrick Henry doing. I definitely think that helps in general, having him getting rushing attempts from the quarterback being under center is definitely better than shotgun runs. But yeah, Titans coming away with a win here, pretty important for them if they do want to wind up making the playoffs. Looks like the Raiders probably not going to make the playoffs, but the Titans definitely have a chance after winning this game. But it's not going to get much easier. You got to keep winning games, and you got to keep being able to move the ball on offense and play better defense at times for the Titans. But at least it does look like Caleb Farley had a pretty good game. And yeah, that definitely could be pretty big for the Titans going forward if Caleb Farley can play healthy and keep playing at a really high level. All right, so then we have Ravens and Patriots. We had picked the Ravens to win by at least 3 points. Does happen. Unfortunately, on one of the last plays of the game, Mac Jones wound up hurting his ankle. And it looks like a high ankle sprain that could potentially hold him out. I don't know if that news has technically came out yet. I think last I heard they were still evaluating the situation, so whatever that means. Typically, an NFL player would miss at least like 4 weeks with a high ankle sprain, but I guess for a quarterback, it could possibly be less. It just depends. I mean, you need to use your legs a little bit to throw the ball. So I would be surprised if he plays this week. Maybe he'll get like 2 weeks off, possibly. That's probably what would happen in my estimation. But yeah, things not looking great for the Patriots here. And Mac Jones didn't really even look that good when he was in the game. So definitely not looking good right now. Mac Jones has not had the best stretch of games here through the first 3 games of the season. So hopefully when he comes back, he can play a little better, play a little more like he did when he was a rookie. But I guess we'll have to see if that happens going forward. This is definitely something to evaluate if Mac Jones is going to be that long-term guy for them. And also Brian Zappi might get an opportunity here to play, or Bailey Zappi out of Western Kentucky. If he shows some good stuff, it might be interesting to see what happens going forward, if he would be like trade bait or if they actually wind up trading Mac Jones possibly. Then we have Eagles and Commanders. We had picked the Eagles to win by at least 6.5. Does happen. I didn't really watch much of this game, but I was expecting definitely the Eagles to cover. Good thing to do. Jalen Hurts is really good. Definitely good for fantasy this year. And Eagles are well on their way to the playoffs, looks like. If they can avoid a few hiccups here and there and not lose games like this, they definitely will probably host in the playoffs and maybe even be the 1 seed in the NFC. And then you have the Panthers winning versus the Saints. We had picked the Panthers to basically cover 2.5 and not lose by 2.5 points. So yeah, they wound up winning here. And yeah, unfortunately, was not able to watch this game much, but it looks like Chris Olave had himself a game, so that's cool to see. As an Ohio State fan, it is good to see him do well. And then moving on, we have the Lions. We had picked the over 51.5, does go to 52, so yeah, we're able to get that one. Unfortunately, the Lions couldn't win. I did want them to win. They did actually wind up covering too. There was a 6-point spread on this game. Quite a frustrating game from the Lions' perspective, but at least they were very competitive versus a good team, I believe. And they had handle of this game for most of the game, and I think they were the better team for most of the game. Unfortunately, weren't able to come away with a W, but yeah, at least I got that pick right. And then for the Texans and Bears, we had picked the Texans to cover the 2.5 points. Did not happen. Bears wind up winning by 3. And yeah, I did watch quite a bit of this game. This was a really weird game to watch. As a football fan, it looked like the Bears on offense were just so uncoordinated, and yeah, I kind of felt bad for a lot of the players on the team right now. But yeah, Justin Fields was getting a lot of opportunities this game to actually throw the ball and didn't do well. And there were opportunities to be had downfield, I felt like. It wasn't all his offensive line. I mean, obviously they're not amazing, but there were definitely plays where he had enough time to throw and just didn't pull the trigger. Yeah, or was looking downfield when he had a guy open underneath at the sticks. Definitely not looking good for him right now. And unfortunately, it doesn't really look like this coaching staff is completely sold on him. So it does look like they may be in contention to take a quarterback next year in the draft. And they will definitely probably be a top 5 pick, possibly. I do think they're one of the worst 5 teams in the NFL, so it's very likely they will probably be picking pretty high in the NFL draft next year. And yeah, it is unfortunate. Justin Fields is a really talented guy and definitely has a good arm, pretty accurate. But right now he's not really showing the ability to read an NFL defense, and he's not pulling the trigger on a lot of stuff. And then we have Rams and Cardinals. We had picked the Rams to win by at least 3.5. Does happen here, not surprised. A little closer than I thought it was going to be. I was thinking Rams by maybe 10 or so. And this is not a game I really saw much of all, but Marquise Brown does look really fast. And he's definitely a pretty good fit with this offense for the Cardinals. And yeah, not surprised there at all. He's a good player, good deep threat, and he's a pretty good fit with Kyler, who has a strong arm. So yeah, maybe in the upcoming weeks that'll open things up for the Cardinals offense, and they can get some more big plays and some more plays underneath with coverages being stretched a little bit. And then you have the Chiefs and Colts. The Colts wind up winning somehow. This is a game I was not expecting to really be competitive at all. I did wind up taking the under just because I thought the Chiefs would actually have a big lead and then just stop trying, basically. Try to run the ball a lot. And the Colts wind up winning somehow, but I did pick the under at least. But yeah, this is surprising. This was one of those games. I mean, I looked at my phone at about maybe 2 o'clock, and And yeah, definitely wasn't expecting the Colts to win this game at all. But somehow they pull it out, and Matt Ryan didn't have a crazy game. And we'll have to see if this means anything going forward. But yeah, this Colts roster is a pretty good roster. So, I mean, it is possible they would start stacking together some wins. But yeah, I was not expecting them to beat a team like the Chiefs, even though the Chiefs had showed some flaws, especially versus the Chargers last week. And then we have the Jaguars and Chargers. Wow, the Jaguars wind up doing it. They win by 18 points. We had picked them basically versus the spread. Chargers were favored 7 points. And yeah, really, this is an interesting situation because you got the Jaguars now look like a really good coach team. And we knew they had some talent coming into the year, but I think there are definitely parts on the roster that are being exposed right now to have basically more talent than we thought. Their defense is playing really well. Josh Allen, I mean, he is definitely looking like a really good pass rusher right now. Yep, and then you got guys like Devin Lloyd looking like potentially Defensive Rookie of the Year. And then you also have Trayvon Marker making some splash plays, also some plays in coverage, interesting enough. He is playing a bit more of an off-the-ball backer, kind of linebacker at times. And, yeah, he's definitely a good fit for that. As he learns to rush the passer, I guess he definitely will be used in some coverage situations and make some plays. And, yeah, I'm pretty surprised that they've gotten off to such a good start, but it looks like Doug Peterson has a good handle on this roster. And they definitely have a lot of talent. Offensive play calling has been pretty good. And I think Trevor Lawrence is playing pretty well, obviously making good decisions, pushing the ball downfield, and yeah, definitely making things difficult on the defense. They have lots of wide receivers. They have a good run game. James Robinson's really good. Travis Etienne, they're doing a better job up front, basically run blocking, stuff like that. And yeah, I guess a lot of that comes down to coaching, and I think right now they look like one of the better coach teams, especially on offense. And on defense, they're just really talented and young, and they're fun to watch. And then we have Packers and Buccaneers. This game wound up being definitely not the highest scoring game in the world. Was not expecting the Buccaneers to basically not be able to move the ball much, but I guess it makes sense without having many receivers. I thought they'd be able to run the ball a little better, but the Packers have a pretty good run defense, pretty good defensive line. And the secondary is really tough, so it's hard to beat them, I guess, when you have no wide receivers. And yeah, we saw throughout this game Tom Brady trying to get the ball to guys like Cole Beasley. And yeah, it was just not quite working out. Tom Brady's getting really frustrated on the sideline. And yeah, we did pick the over in this game. Didn't happen. I guess I should have thought going into this game without all those wide receivers for the Buccaneers that it could possibly be a lower scoring game, but that wasn't something that occurred to me at the time, I guess. Then we have the 49ers and Broncos. We had picked the 49ers, and I do think the 49ers look like the better team. But yeah, this was just one of those games. I mean, 10-11. I don't know how you even analyze that from a NFL team perspective. This is just such a weird game. And yeah, going forward, it doesn't look like the Broncos are probably going to be that good of a team. But they are kind of sneaking around, They do have 2 wins somehow. Maybe things will get better going forward. But, I memean, this team looks a lot better with Teddy Bridgewater throwing the ball. Interesting enough. Then we have Falcons and Seahawks. We had picked the Falcons and basically a pick 'em here. Kind of even odds on either side. We picked the Falcons just because they had been doing pretty good versus the spread so far, and I thought they were the better pick. And they do wind up winning the game. And then we have the Cowboys and Giants. We picked the Giants to cover 1 point. Basically, did not happen. Cowboys wind up winning 23-16. And yeah, Cooper Rush looking pretty good. Definitely for a NFL backup. He has been quite a bit better than expected so far. And I think going forward, I guess we'll just have to expect him to probably at least keep the Cowboys in games and make them competitive. And this game could have been a lot worse. I mean, you had quite a few drops from CeeDee Lamb. I can remember one that was like a 60-yard bomb. Definitely would have been a touchdown. So, yeah, overall this game, I mean, the Cowboys could have won by 20, definitely. Daniel Jones looked pretty bad. Probably on the verge of getting benched maybe, but I don't think it's quite going to happen this year. We'll see. But it's not like they really have anybody on the sideline that you have much confidence in, but it would be interesting to see what happens going forward. Maybe he will get benched. And yeah, that's all I have for this video. We will be getting into the week 4 matchups, I believe, tomorrow.